Hello, everyone. I'm Harvey Brownstone, and today's guest is an award-winning jazz vocalist who's recently been taking the world by storm. Her rich, instantly recognizable voice evokes the unique cultural fusion of her exotic heritage, with a mom from Germany and a father from Mozambique, and being raised in New Mexico near the Texas border. Her musical roots derived from world music, broad and diverse, and those roots have propelled her to delve deep into the essence of jazz, while at the same time giving her songs a fresh and multi-genre delivery. Her powerful and breathtaking voice led her to win the prestigious 2021 Sarah Vaughan Vocal Jazz competition. Take a look at one of her performances.
I got a few words for you before we begin. A question. What good is melody? What good is music if it ain't possessing something sweet? No, it ain't the melody, and it ain't the music. There's something else that makes this tune complete. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Do-what. No, it don't mean a thing. All you've got to do is swing. Do-what.
Last month, she made her New York debut at the historic Birdland Jazz Club, and music critics were unanimous in praising her brilliant song choices, her unique, sparkling delivery, her emotional directness, and most of all, that luminous, stunning voice. She's released her critically acclaimed debut album entitled Smile, containing 12 beautifully produced songs that convey her message of joy, yearning, hope, dreams, and healing. I'm delighted to welcome the mega-talented Tawanda Suessbrich-Joaquim, known simply as Tawanda. Welcome to our show, Tawanda, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Harvey. Thank you so much for having me. Great job on the last name, by the way. That's a tricky one.
Well, from now on, I'm calling you Tawanda. Is that okay?
That works perfectly.
Tawanda, I know that music has been a huge part of your life from the very beginning, but is it true that you only discovered jazz when you were 18?
I would say maybe for myself, but I had been singing like show tunes and songs from the Great American Songbook since middle school, high school, but personally 18, yeah.
Who were your musical influences growing up?
There really was a wide range of musical influences. We listened to music from all over the world. And then, I was also just a regular young child listening to pop music in the 2000s, which was, a beautiful time, but it's kind of hard to pinpoint. There were so many genres. I think I resonated, with like Brandy and Britney Spears and stuff like that when I was growing up. But from a world music standpoint, it was very much like Habib Koité, Sam Mangwane, Ladysmith Black Mambazo, Kajanine, a lot of, artists that aren't very well known in the United States.
You bring those influences with you through your music, which makes you so unique.
Thank you. It's definitely a work in progress. I feel like jazz is definitely the first step, and I'm excited as my journey unfolds to bring in more of those influences.
Now, as I understand it, you were working with a vocal instructor who brought you to the attention of the wonderful George Claybin, the CEO of Resonance Records. He's your producer and your primary mentor, correct?
Yes, he's one of my mentors. Yes, I have another one, Mirabai Daniels, but George has definitely been one of my main focal points over the past 2 years. Yes.
You had not been performing for a long time before you entered the Sarah Vaughan Jazz competition last year. That was an incredibly brave thing to do, and you tied in first place. Congratulations, Tawanda.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm told that you sang "Tain't Nobody's Business If I Do" in the Sarah Vaughan competition. Is that right?
That's correct.
If I should take a notion to jump into the ocean, tain't nobody's business if I do. And if me and my baby, we fuss and fight. Then the next minute everything's all right. Well, it ain't nobody's business what we do.
Well, given the legendary nature of that song and the iconic superstars who've recorded it, I think it was incredibly brave of you to sing it in a singing competition. That is so impressive.
Thank you. Yes, it's a message that I'm going to be carrying with me throughout my entire life. Just really like, it's a song about confidence and like, I know what I'm doing, very grounded, and it really doesn't matter what anyone else thinks or says. And that was something that I almost had to sing at that time because we were in the throes of COVID. And so to sing a song that was really just sassy and confident, yeah, it was good for me.
I understand your favorite song is The Peacocks, correct?
Yes.
Why?
I love that tune. It's one of the first ones that I learned when I was studying in Santa Fe with my instructor, Mirabai Daniels. And it's such a beautiful, colorful tune. It's a ballad, but it's so much more than that. It's really this journey of a song that, on the bridge, it gets incredibly chromatic. So it's kind of difficult to sing and difficult to listen to because you're like, oh, what's going on here? But it's, yeah, just such a beautifully melodic song. And I love the lyrics too. I've had my fair share of thinking you're in love with someone and then discovering that it was all an illusion. So it's very easy for me to sing.
Well, I want to read to you what music critic Jerry Geddes wrote about your rendition of The Peacocks at your Birdland concert. He said it was, I'm quoting him here, an astonishing masterpiece that you turned into a tour de force as you brought the poetry of the lyrics to vibrant, hypnotic life while reveling in the complexity of the melody and elevating the song to the stratosphere. Tawanda, those are monumental words of praise from a highly respected critic. You should be incredibly proud of yourself. Congratulations.
Thank you. That means so much. Thank you, Jerry.
I think it's just the beginning. Are ballads your favorite kind of song to sing?
They are, yes. And thank you for picking up on that and asking that, because they truly are. I feel, ever since I was young and tried even writing my own songs or playing a little bit on the piano, it's always things that sound a little more somber, a little more serious. And so I've always kind of gravitated towards those kinds of stories. And it's an honor to be able to sing those songs as well.
Well, a lot of new jazz vocalists feel constrained and obligated to honor the legacies of the great legends like Ella, Billie Holiday, Sarah Vaughan, and they shape their musicality in a traditional way, staying within the parameters that those legendary singers created for themselves. But you, Tawanda, you found a way to honor that legacy and still bring your own unique style to the music. How would you define your approach to singing jazz?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think, I do resonate with what you said about the parameters that our foremothers have kind of paved for us, because I still view myself very much as a learner. I don't think in any way that I'm fully formed. I think I'm still very new to all of this. So I'm constantly, wondering about how I can, push the boundary a little bit more, or sound a little bit more like myself. And I think that's something that will be a lifelong journey. But I would describe my sound now as kind of, for and of the people. It sounds like I'm not really like, I'm not on the level that Ella Fitzgerald was. And, at that's something I might aspire to, but I'm very much like, I think I'm a little bit closer to the audience, if that makes sense. I've never had to describe this, so this is really fascinating to think about. But I think I'm a little more brassy. I'm a little more, more of the people, and I'm still very much learning. So
Well,
yeah.
you know how I would describe your approach to jazz as a listener? Because of your world music influences, because you're young, I think you have a cosmopolitan flavor, a worldliness. So I would describe you as a cosmopolitan modernist jazz singer. What do you think of that?
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
you can have it.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to say. You have such a beautiful way with words. So I thank you. I value that.
And you've got a beautiful way with a song. I've always wanted to ask a jazz singer this question.
Yeah.
How do you learn to scat?
Oh, yes. Oh, well, it's funny, scatting, when you hear it, it sounds like they're just kind of playing around. But once you truly understand jazz, and maybe you are a little bit of a musician yourself, you realize that the point is that you are constantly playing with different notes that are in the chords being played. But you have to remember that the songs are sometimes going by like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you're scatting over that, the changes are really quick. So you have to be incredibly well practiced and well rehearsed to have that down. And I'm still working on it. I've got a whole bunch of books right behind me. I have Bob Stoloff's scat book. I just recently got Darman Meter's book on scatting and vocal improvisation. So I'm definitely looking towards just flipping through the books and like learning. Yeah.
And I guess listening to a lot of other artists who scat the way you like it done.
Yes, absolutely. And listening to a lot of horn players, which is something up until the point where I was trying to learn to improvise, I wasn't doing so much. I love to listen to other vocalists. So I'm really working on listening to more instrumentals, because the point also of improvisation is that you're emulating different instruments. So it's very helpful to your ear if you're, okay, I'm going to become a drum right now. Okay, I'm going to become a horn right now. Yeah.
And I think you have to be unself-conscious about it and listen to your intuition and just let yourself go. And I know that our mutual friend, George Claiborne, would probably agree with me that jazz, to me, is not just a genre of music, it's a lifestyle, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And it can look so different for everyone. That's what I love about it, because jazz really is about every person telling these stories in their own different way. It's not like pop music or classical music, where you're kind of supposed to sing things the same way, or you're not supposed to embellish on any notes. It's very much like, here's a song that has been done for generations. Now you're going to tell it the way you tell it, and people can hear that. And so, yeah, it's amazing. It is a lifestyle, and it's really about just being creative lifestyles. Yeah.
So Tawanda, let's talk about your new album. My friend James Gavin, who appeared on our show recently, described your repertoire as broad and demanding. After the Birdland concert, you're becoming known for your surprising and unexpected song choices. How did you go about selecting the songs for the album?
Yes, it being my first kind of foray into the jazz realm, I did rely quite heavily on George Claiborne's input. He suggested all of these songs, and then I kind of went down and listened to them. And because at that time, it's interesting to be recording an album while you're still learning and still, kind of like, finding the influences you want, or even still listening to this music. So he was very, very helpful and also instrumental in the song choices. Yeah.
The song I'm Okay is about overcoming hardships and being resilient. How did someone so young, with your whole life ahead of you, learn how to convey so much life experience and emotion into your delivery?
Yeah, well, I feel like I am no stranger to heartbreak and disappointment and struggle. I have very I'm a first generation American, so I have such an immense privilege to be here in this country as a first generation American, but I carry every day the knowing that where I'm from, people are not so lucky. People do not have the space to take things for granted. And so I think I'm able to just really kind of explore that when I'm singing of strength and resilience. I was born of it. So I feel very connected to it.
Do you think you're what they call an old soul?
I have heard that a lot. So I would love to agree with that. And I do feel that sometimes too. And this old soul gets frustrated sometimes too. I feel like, well, if I've been here already, why isn't it easier sometimes?
Because you're learning lessons in this life that you didn't learn last time. That's why you came back.
Right.
And every time somebody breaks your heart, they did you a favor because they made you ready and stronger for the next person who will be right for you.
I received that. Thank you.
And I send it with love. My favorite song on the album is Sack Full of Dreams because its message is so perfect in this fractured world of ours, don't you think?
I agree. I couldn't agree more. Yeah. And it seems to be getting more and more, it seems to be intensifying. I think every generation feels like, they feel like the era they're living in is intense, but this feels so intense in a different way, like truly disconnection. And just, I feel like, it looks like it's harder for us to take care of ourselves and one another and come back to a community, sort of like communal thinking, because we just seem to be getting more and more fractured, as you said, more polarized. So
you included Sister Moon on the album, which is one of Sting's most iconic songs. What was the thinking behind that choice of song? Was that George's suggestion as well?
It was, yes. We listened to another rendition. I can't remember who it's by now, but yeah, it's a beautiful piece about this kind of love affair with the moon, which is also something I'm not a stranger to either. We gather every full moon, me and my sisters, and we are pulling tarot cards and we're talking about our emotions. And so, yeah, this one was very, very easy to sing. I feel very influenced and very, just always like in wonder at nature. Anything nature related speaks to me. So yeah, I love that song.
Where did you get the idea to do an a cappella quartet of Smile for the last song on the album? It's just gorgeous.
Thank you. Yes, I have Josh Nelson to thank for that. And he arranged about half of the tunes on the album. And he thought it would be a very beautiful idea to do that and kind of pop it in. Maybe we weren't sure at first if it was going to go at the beginning or the end or in the middle somewhere of the album as kind of a motif, just kind of like bringing the listeners back to that song in a different way. So yeah, I thought that was so beautiful. And I think it kind of harkens back to my beginnings in choir. So that felt very much like a respect to me. Yeah.
You had a couple of personal setbacks during the pandemic when the album was being recorded. Were you in a dark place emotionally when you recorded those songs, Tawanda?
Yes, absolutely. I would say yes. And yeah, like so many other people, I lost my job. I was like, luckily I was able to go home for a few months to be with my family during the first 3 months of it, which just seemed so terrifying. And I think mostly it was like I was receiving so many projections from people close to me, like, well, now that you've lost your job, what are you going to do? And I think it was like, it's kind of unfortunate that our sense of self is so often tied to the money we're making, and knowing, like, your spirit knows that that's not the case at all, because, you know, we're not really material creatures. We think we are, but we're not. And so just being in that kind of state of like, oh God, what am I going to do? And how am I going to connect with people now that we can't? So yeah, dark place, definitely.
But I think that was a gift, because when you listen to that album, you've given it a texture and a fabric and an emotional nuance and complexity that may not have been there had you not been going through all of that. I really do think that that was a blessing, what you were going through, because you translated that, you harnessed it into your voice and into what we hear. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for saying that. It's sometimes hard for me to listen to, because I always feel like I could have pushed a little more vocally, and I was also in a place where I was not very confident. Every artist and every musician does. So, but it means a lot to hear good feedback. So thank you.
When you were in high school, you were in a show choir and you did a lot of show tunes. Would you like to record an album of Broadway songs?
That'd be nice. Yeah, I think I would love to do that. And George is always talking about how I should be on Broadway too. So that would be like a step in the right direction. Yeah, that would be fun.
So I asked you about your musical influences. Who are the contemporary singers that you listen to now?
Oh man, I listen to Yeba. I listen to Esperanza Spalding. I listen to Charlotte dos Santos. I'm like coming more and more into the jazz vocalist community. So, you know, I'm super proud of my friends, the Gabrielle Cavassa, who tied with me. And then I'm meeting other people like Leah Booth, who lives in this area, and a whole bunch of other people who are emerging. So yeah, it's been fun meeting more vocalists too.
Do you have any aspirations to be a songwriter?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm trying to get back into it now. It's pretty hard, but it's so personal. It's almost even more intimate than singing a song that someone else has wrote. And I'm so out of practice. So it's really like every time I sit down to write, it's like looking in this mirror and I'm like, oh. So yeah, I'm getting back into it. I'm excited.
I'm excited for you because I see you as a person and your music as an instrument of positive social change. And as a songwriter, I think that's where you're really going to have an even bigger impact than as a vocalist.
I love that. That's music to my ears, Harvey.
Do you see your music as having a kind of a healing energy?
Absolutely. That's become very clear to me in the past few years. But, you know, my original music was more, I was talking about my experiences being very wounded and hurt. And it was also healing to me to write about that, and the people that it connected with, it gave them a lot of strength as well. So I probably won't only be writing happy songs. I might also be writing, you know, very hard songs to listen to, but I think truth is going to be the goal of my music. Yeah.
I think truth, authenticity, and sincerity will be your lucky charms. Now, you're a relatively new artist, and it's clear to me from your album and from the videos I've seen of your performances that you're well on your way to becoming a major recording artist, concert performer, and a big celebrity. You're 26 years old. Are you ready for everything that fame brings?
More and more so, yes. I'm very excited for it, but I'm also very aware that it will sometimes feel like there are sacrifices that might have to be made. Being away from my family is a huge thing. You know, my parents are getting older. It breaks my heart that I might not see them as often as I really need to be seeing them. And relationships too, you know, I'm so curious how that works. And so I'm preparing myself for the fact that there might be things that I'll have to give up to live the life that I've always dreamed. So yeah, I'm getting there.
I think the key, if I can be so bold, I feel like your Uncle Harvey here.
Yes.
I think the key is to surround yourself with people who you trust and who have your best interests at heart. People like George Claiborne, who understand the industry, who understand your voice and the image, the persona that you want to create publicly. If you surround yourself with people like that, you'll have a very good time on your way to superstardom. And if I can also add, please don't forget to come back to the interviewers who interviewed you when you were just starting out.
Yes. Of course, never. I'll never forget.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, 5 years. Yeah, I feel like hopefully in 5 years, I'll have at least 2 or 3 more albums out. I think hopefully I'll have done, bigger venues like Madison Square Garden, and maybe I'll have like 2 or 3 Europe tours under my belt. And maybe I've gone to Asia, like we've been talking about Japan and their jazz music scene too. So hopefully I'll have seen more of the world. And I think that will have heavily influenced who I am in 5 years. And yeah, I can only pray and hope that my close relationships that are so dear to me are still thriving at that time. Yeah, I'm hoping George and Mirabai are still around, like loving and supporting me, and that I can do the same for them. And yeah, I hope in 5 years too that I have multiple projects that I'm, that are truly in line with my, I hope that I found my sound by then. Yeah, I'm excited for that feeling.
You will. I know you will. And I don't think I will have to wait 5 years to get you back on the show. I want to tell our viewers that you can find out more about Tawanda by going to her official website, tawandamusic.com. Her new album, Smile, is available on her website and on every major music streaming platform. Well, Tawanda, when I was doing my research for this interview, I learned that the name Tawanda in English means we are more. And I think that's really prophetic because there's so much more to come from you. You have a brilliant future ahead of you. It's been such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, such an honor. Thank you, Harvey.
I wish you the best of luck with the album and with your career. And I can't wait to see you in concert, hopefully in the very near future, probably in New York. Thank you so much for taking the time to appear on our show.
Thank you. This has been such a pleasure. And thank you for asking beautiful questions.
It was my pleasure. I also want to thank the wonderful George Claiborne for introducing me to you and to your music and for facilitating this interview. Our guest has been the newest member of the jazz world, the fabulous vocalist Tawanda. Do yourself a favor, pick up her debut album, Smile. My name is Harvey Brownstone. Thank you to our producer, Steve Silver. Thank you to my wonderful management team in LA, Rick and Robin Marcelli, and to my team at XPTV1 in the UK. Thank you all for joining us. See you next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out all the great interviews on the Harvey Brownstone Interviews YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified when new videos are posted.